No, you need to move forward because you look like you're tiny compared to me.
It's like Lord of the Rings. Oh, look at the Hobbit.
John's a hobbit.
Gandalf, help me. Get us through Mordor. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. That Mordor bit's gonna go somewhere, isn't it?
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
And we're married. You're supposed to say that. We're married.
We're married.
Sorry, we're checking ourselves out in the TV. So, we can't look back there. We have to look at the camera.
I know. Otherwise, we have this whole like, yeah, it looks like we're blind. You know how like when you have someone acting like they're blind, you're like looking. Yeah. Okay.
So, the name of our podcast is Sweet Tea No Shade, and I think it's episode 4, and I think the people deserve to know what the hell Sweet Tea No Shade means. A lot of people have figured it out. Well, not a lot, but some people have figured it out. What was the other thing? Oh, so...
Do you have your mail?
Well, that's why I brought this up.
That's important.
So, I have to reboot the laptop, though. So, there's going to be lots of editing in this podcast.
I don't know, it could be like a really...
It's getting more complicated.
Right. I feel like it could be like a sort of fun thing, like an art film, where they just watch us reboot the laptop for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we sit there and tell them what's going on. It'd be super cool.
Well, podcasts...
Because knitting podcasts are all about watching people reboot laptops.
Knitting... People have been talking to me about the fact that, oh my god, like people that don't knit or don't watch knitting podcasts, they're like, oh my god, I'm not watching that, it's an hour long. Okay, first of all, that's short compared to some of them that I've seen. And second of all, I am assuming, because we're relatively new on the scene here, I'm assuming that the reason that they're an hour long, I mean, first of all, there's a lot to talk about. I mean,
right.
Bottom line.
You could talk about hours and hours and hours.
But the second thing is that they're designed for people to knit while they watch them.
Right.
I'm assuming.
Or you could knit while you're doing one, like me.
Yeah, a lot of people do that too.
I know. So it's like double efficient.
Yeah, like the Bakery Bears. It's funny. So Bakery Bears is obviously one of my favorite podcasts, and it's funny because when Kay is talking, then oh god, I'm so bad with names. I totally forgot what his name is. Obi-Wan Knitter.
Is that his Ravelry name or something?
Ravelry name, his Instagram name. Dan Jones. Okay, sorry. Kay Jones and Dan Jones. Oh my god, I'm so glad I remember that. Dan will knit. Exactly like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's not listening to her at all. And then he's like, are you done, Kay? When she's done talking. It's really hilarious.
Well, it's better than weirdly looking at yourself in the TV monitor.
That's true. That's true. Stop it. You're making me uncomfortable. So, Sweet Tea No Shade. We have a Ravelry group. I don't know if I've ever announced that during the podcast, but I started a Ravelry group for the podcast. What is so funny?
That just seems super weird.
Why?
So like a fan group?
Okay, so I am brought to mind of the fact that John has
You just created a fan club for yourself?
No. Just stop. Don't touch me. John doesn't like to knit. And he doesn't get into the whole community and culture of it. So he doesn't understand any of these concepts.
I don't at all.
Ravelry. No, you have a group so that you have it's a forum so that you post things. And so what I did is I went on there and I created a group and then I posted our show notes. It's like a bulletin board from the old days.
Like alt rec, Sweet Tea No Shade knitting.
People don't get that joke.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
People who are my age, news groups.
News groups, yeah. People don't get that joke. No, if and when we do a knit along, like that's where people would go to that forum. That's where they would go to post their finished objects. And
so it's like a companion site.
No, it's like a forum. It's like a Ravelry group, is what it's like. It's a Ravelry group. That's because you didn't even have a Ravelry username, and you're doing that wrong. It looks like you're doing that wrong.
I'm not.
So, gonna have to edit our fight out.
Oh my god, what am I doing wrong? You don't even know what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, okay. John's taking up Portuguese knitting. We'll talk about that in a bit. It just looks wrong. Like every time, it looks like you're just doing it wrong. So anyway,
so in order to distract from my like sniffing, like you're knitting wrong.
Yes, basically. So so anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, I created a group on Ravelry for the Sweet Tea No Shade podcast, and my goal is to put the show notes there because I've gotten into a rhythm with the show notes. I think, or a rhythm. We've had 3 episodes, but like, and I've done them like once or twice. But I think I figured out the method. I'm gonna do a Google Doc for the show notes, and then I'll put them in. I can copy and paste them into YouTube. I can copy and paste them into Ravelry, and so they'll be in both places, and stuff like that. So I'm on Instagram as Sweet Tea No Shade. I'm on Ravelry as Sweet Tea No Shade.
You're on Twitter as Sweet Tea No Shade.
Yeah, but I don't do Twitter.
I know.
I don't.
But that was where it first came up. That was where the name was first invented.
Oh, that's right. You're right. So, this is episode 4, which is really exciting. It's June the 18th, which is a Sunday. And it's been a little bit longer since we podcasted last. It's been longer than I would like. A couple things have been going on. One is last weekend we were going to record, and I've been having some back problems. I turned 40 and everything is falling apart. So, for anybody who's ever had back problems, this is all my treatment. The treatment that I'm going through is all new to me. But I had a epidural steroid injection, which I had like a really bad. I shouldn't say that because I could have been much worse. But I had a terrible insomnia and anxiety and jitteriness from the steroid, and so I was not up for podcasting last weekend. And John, he's a member of the Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, which I used to be for 9 years, and I'm taking a hiatus. But John, the concerts were this weekend, but I just decided, you know what, we're going to do it today. We've got to get it in because it's a lot of fun to do, and
your fans expect it.
Our fans, aka Betty Ann, is shaming me into doing the podcast. So, okay, cool. Okay, I think we're back. So we're trying a new setup here. I'm not going to pay attention to the laptop the whole time because that would be annoying. But we're trying a new layout. I really like, for some reason, I really like the table setup that some podcasters have. And I think it will help us because our first couple podcasts I guess it was our first one. We were in this terribly uncomfortable chairs. They're comfortable to sit in, but not to podcast in because you're leaning forward and stuff. And then our next 2 were on our couch, which is comfortable again, but not great for podcasting. This setup, I think, is going to work well. So we're in our basement, but it's our kind of our dining room area / library / board game area. So anyway, so we're set up here, and I've got my sweet tea. So tell us about that mug. You always, you've been trying to have fun mugs. Do you know where that one came from?
My brother got it for me for Christmas.
Okay, so that was exciting. Why don't I tell people what the name of the podcast means, or what my screen name means? So, I learned this bit of culture from watching RuPaul. I don't know if everybody knows who RuPaul is, but I'm not going to go into all that. But so there are 2 parts to there's 2 parts to the name. There's Sweet Tea and No Shade. And it's a modification of a slang thing or whatever that people use that's either no tea, no shade, or all tea, all shade, or all tea, no shade, or whatever. It's different combinations. But tea, when you say no tea, or give me the tea, or spill the tea, is TEA, and it's referencing gossip. So you're like, girl, give me the tea.
Mm-hmm.
You come over and let's spill the tea or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tea. And then shade is, I think that one's probably more people know what that is referencing, and it's when you're being shady. Or my friend Jane, I was telling her about this, and she said it's like you're being sly. So I think honestly, being shady or throwing shade is when you are saying something that's an insult, but it's indirect. So, for example, if I were to say, John, I love your t-shirt. You always know the best things to pick out of the garbage bin, or something like that. That's being shady. You're better at this. Give us like an example of being shady.
Your shade is really... could use some work.
Whatever. So anyway, that's being shady is when you're like giving a backhanded compliment or, yeah. So, are you watching our cat trying to dig under the blankets? So when somebody is going to say to you that what I'm about to tell you is not gossip, and I am not trying to insult you. I am being completely honest in what I'm about to say. You say no tea, no shade. So it's like, I'm not gossiping. I'm not insulting you. It is no tea, no shade. This is how it is.
No tea, no shade. Our cat is obese.
No tea, no shade.
Our cat is obese and probably...
He's a lot of fluff.
He is a lot of fluff, but he is obese.
He's a luck dragon. So, I picked up that catchphrase from RuPaul, and who's a famous drag queen in America, and he's known all over. But what's so funny about that? Trying to talk about this like in a literary sense is a little difficult.
She's a famous drag queen in America. Worldwide superstar.
She's a worldwide superstar.
Oh, speaking of... So this is
of the luck dragon.
This is the all tea, no tea, no shade.
See, that's a big cat. Get out of the way, cat. All right, now he's blocking you. Okay, can you push him down?
Here he goes.
Okay, so no tea, no shade. Okay, people are super bored. We haven't talked about any knitting.
I know.
Okay,
that's what editing's for.
That's true. No tea, no shade. So anyway, I picked up that catchphrase and I love that catchphrase. And so I was trying to come up with a Twitter handle. And I think, was it Steve Dahl or who was it that came up with it?
It's me.
Well, I don't want to give you credit for
It was
anything.
me.
I don't want
It
to
was
give you
totally me.
Okay. So instead of no tea, to add in my southernness and the fact that I'm obsessed with sweet tea and I drink it in huge tumblerfuls. This is my 4th one today.
It's a problem.
I know. It's sweet tea, no shade. So that's where that comes from. And I know everybody feels super educated in drag culture now. So, one thing I wanted to talk about, well, we'll talk about that later. Let's get into some fun knitting stuff before we completely lose our audience.
Right.
So, John, why don't you tell us what you're doing?
So, as you may recall, in the past, I had injured my hand, and knitting really aggravated, especially holding the yarn in my right hand. So
can I interject real quick?
Of course.
So there are sorry, my mom is. So we mirror my iPhone on our TV so that we can make sure things are focusing and the lighting is correct and all of that. And I'm receiving text messages from Betty Ann, who's currently watching the most recent episode of The Grocery Girls. And I'll have to show you that. Jody is crazy. Anyway, go ahead. Oh, no, wait, I was interjecting.
Yes.
So, a couple of the podcasts that I really love, both, or people in each of those are having the exact same problem you're having. And one is
old.
Well, no. Andrea from Fruity Knitting podcast and then Michelle from Naughty Knitwits are both having the exact same problem. And actually, the Fruity Knitting, there's a guy, and I can't remember his name. I'll put it in the show notes, but he is a physical therapist, and he just released a book related to preventing and addressing repetitive stress injuries for knitters.
Oh, that's cool. It sounds exactly what
Yeah.
I should read that.
So anyway, go
Anyway,
ahead.
so I did a little Googling because Portuguese knitting is a thing where you keep the yarn on usually a pin, but we don't have it. It's just a safety pin in a ring. And so
He's MacGyvered himself a Portuguese knitting.
right, because apparently you can't buy them anywhere except on Amazon. And I'm lazy. So
Well, what he doesn't know is that you can buy them on Etsy, but
well, Etsy, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, the ones on Etsy are like $27, and
yes, but they're like handmade by artisans from around the world. Like,
right.
it's totally worth it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, what it does is you hold the yarn in your... Basically, you use your left hand to throw the yarn, and the tension is held by having the yarn go through this little loopsy-loop thing. And what's really fun about it is, obviously, for the injury bit, that's good. But it makes me a lot faster as a knitter. For some reason, it's really easy. The stitch is just like... is very easy to do, and it's very... I don't get the same sort of tiredness, I guess, from it.
You've gotten really good with it. I remember when you were learning and you were struggling on every stitch.
Yeah, and so it's a lot... So it's made it a lot faster knitter, for one. And then the other thing about it, which I really like, is... so I tend to be, when I knit normally, a very tight knitter. So I...
Are you knitting or purling?
I'm knitting. Now? I'm knitting.
Okay.
So, but because the tension is held through this and not through your hand, like my knit is like really loose now, and it's kind of fun.
I don't want you to drop a stitch, but
No, I'm good.
Huh.
So it's fun. I really like it. I've learned how to knit and purl, and I'm sort of figuring out stuff to do. And I don't know. I mean, when my hand
purling with that is like
purling with this is crazy, and apparently
crazy as in good,
crazy fast. So it's about when I purl this, I'm about maybe twice as fast as this. And so actually, people who Portuguese knit. Oh, thank you, Very Pink Knits, for the tutorials.
Stacy from Very Pink Knits. I'm obsessed with her.
She's awesome. So
we
calm,
will put the
so calm, so
confident,
so confident. It's just like Martha Stewart of knitting.
So she has amazing nails.
I know,
and she does this herself. But anyway,
So anyway, if you purl, it's even faster. And that what she said is that people who Portuguese knit, when you're doing like a big project, you knit on the wrong side. So if you're getting...
So are you knitting on the wrong side?
I'm doing the right side.
Okay.
On the right side. I haven't figured out how to do circular knitting on the wrong side yet.
Oh, but you could purl.
I could purl and would get the knit stitches like...
Because it's so fast.
It's so fast.
Okay.
But I haven't quite... I think I know how to do it, but I'm a little afraid to... I want someone to show me how to do it, so I don't want to mess this up. And the knitting is just fine. And what I'm working on is my first sweater. So that's exciting. It's just it's a free pattern. It's a knit from the bottom thing sweater. So bottom up sweater. And yeah, I've been working on it for about a week and a half at this point. So this is like major progress for me.
So you're we'll put that pattern in the
show
notes, but do you happen to remember like in the name of it or the art?
No, I went on the Google and did easy men's knitting pattern sweaters free type thing, and this one came up, and I liked it, and I've of course modified it to make it easier. So it starts out with a don't want to drop anything. It starts out with like a ribbed bottom, and then it's supposed to go into this really kind of crazy stitch where you do... I liked the shape of the sweater. It's a sort of a deep V-neck sweater with kind of a raised collar. So Scott will post it. But it has, for the actual body of the sweater, it has this kind of... You do like you knit 6, it's like a 6-stitch rib.
Knit 6, purl 2.
Something like that. And then you do, like, that's...
Wait, where is it that's the 6 knit?
So you do, your pattern is, when you do the regular stitch, it's supposed to be, like, knit stitch, knit 6, purl 2, knit 6, purl 2, right?
So it's a 6x2 rib?
Yes.
The whole sweater?
Mm-hmm. But every other row, you just do a full line of knitting.
Oh, I see. So it doesn't create a rib.
It just creates a texture.
Okay.
But me being me, and I'm like, okay, I can either do this really fun pattern, or I can get this done at my super slow pace. So I'm just doing a knit all the way through. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm very excited about this.
Well, and some people would like that because of the fact that they get bored with just doing stockinette.
Right. This way I can watch TV and not worry about it, which is really important.
They call that potato chip knitting.
That sounds a little mean.
No, it's not mean. Who would it be mean to?
I feel like you just said bad things on knitting.
Oh, honey, you're so insecure. So do you know, like, what? I don't think we've ever talked about, like, what needles you use. These are wooden needles with a... Oh, they're chow goo.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you had chow goos.
Mm-hmm. I bought a whole bunch when I started this project.
Okay. They're chow goo. They're wooden. They're size 7s, 4.5 millimeter. They have a metal join and then a clear plastic cable. My chow goo interchangeables have the red cable, the red lace twist cable, and then the yarn is
Lion brand
wool ease.
Yeah. Again, I bought a whole...
And that's the same yarn I'm making my sweater out of. And actually, when I show my sweater in a few minutes, this navy that John is using, I stole to put the color work into my sweater.
Yep.
So I'll show that in a minute.
So anyway, it's really exciting because this sweater has been started many, many times. Let's not set it on fire. Yeah, and I feel like I may actually finish this before 2020.
And it looks really small, but you did try it on, and it sat on your...
Yeah.
This is the rib, and it sat on your waist really well.
Yeah, it was a little... I mean, it's not... I think it'll be good. So I'm excited about it, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I feel like the fun thing is that Portuguese knitting kind of... I don't know. I feel like I can knit faster with it, and I find it more enjoyable for some reason. So, whatever works.
I'm kind of jealous.
I know.
So
I'll probably get, like, repeat injury in my left-hand thumb, but, you know, at least my right hand will be fine.
Well, and actually, that book that I was mentioning, that he was interviewed on the Fruity Knitting podcast, we should get that book because he talks about... There's not necessarily a better way to knit than any other. Right. But he takes you through the different types of knitting and the best way to, like...
Avoid certain types of...
don't hold the yarn perpendicular to your... I'm making this up.
Okay, like, what am I doing now?
So I remember him talking about most people, or some people holding the yarn parallel to their needle versus perpendicular to their needle, and... stuff like that. But
yeah, no, it's super fun, and it's kind of fast, and I really like it. So, stay tuned on this. Cool. It makes me less of an angry knitter.
Oh, anything to reduce the anger with knitting, right? Okay, so I'm going to show...
And now I'm going to stop paying attention to you.
Okay. So I'm going to show my sweater. This is... in my so Betty Ann bought me this. It's, oh crud, I'm not gonna remember. I've probably shown this bag before.
Yeah.
But I can't remember who it's by. Oh well, maybe she can tell us in the Hey Betty Ann, why don't you put in the comments where you got these bags? Oh, it's Quilt Knit Craft. John got a llama one, and I got it. It's a great bag. I just love the sheepies on it.
That's wool, not sheep.
Those are sheep.
No, it's wool, not sheep.
I'm not getting your joke.
Making a Settlers of Catan joke.
Oh, it's wool, not sheep. It's, what was it, lumber, not wood? Or
no,
whatever?
It's just wool. It's always wool, not sheep.
Yeah. So, for those of you that play Settlers of Catan. So, I'm just gonna show my sweater.
It looks awesome.
So I decided, I think I showed in the last episode that I decided to put color work in. And so I finished the color work section, so that's why I want to kind of show this off. And I've got it on my interchangeables, but I needed the tips, the size 8 tips for the shawl that I'm doing. So I'm going back and forth and kind of trading off with the projects, and so I put it on it stays on the cable, but it's got the I forget what they're called, but they're like the little pieces that you screw onto the end so that your stitches don't fall off. It's really nice. Here is the color. Oh wow, that turns out really good. So okay, so that's the color work section. I am super happy with it. I think it turned out great. It's my first. Well, it's not my first color work because I did that Doctor Who sock, those Doctor Who socks, but I just could not be happier with how it turned out. And you can see that it's the blue that John is using for his sweater. So now I've just got to knit to the bottom, put the rib on, do the sleeves, and then pick up the neck stitches and put the neck ribbing on. So this is again from Rib Magazine, issue number 1.
And the patterns from that Fair Isles book.
Yeah, so the Fair Isle section that I put in, I took from this book of Fair Isle knitting, and just grabbed one of the patterns, one of the charts, and I just grabbed one of the charts and fit it into my stitch count, and put it in. So it's the pattern for the sweater itself just calls for straight knitting.
But someone got bored.
Well, I didn't get bored. I just have to make everything complicated. I'm gonna get this out of the way here. So yeah, I am super happy with how that has turned out. And it was my friend Sonia who was on the last episode who recommended that I put 3 rows of the diamonds in rather than just 2, and I think that was totally the way to go. So yeah, so that's going well.
Looks amazing.
One thing I wanted to talk about with this, which it was an idea that the Yarn Hoarder, I can't remember what her real name is, but she has a podcast, the Yarn Hoarder podcast, and she got the idea and she talked about it in one of her podcasts, and so I actually did it and it works great. And that is when you want to try your sweater on, because with a top-down sweater, that's one of the benefits of the top-down sweater is that you can take it and put it on and make sure it's fitting and everything. And that's actually, for those of you who remember back to episode 2 or whatever previous episode, I had knit less than this, but not much less than this the first time, and it was like for mini me. It was like a baby version because of multiple things that I had not done right. So I had to start over from the beginning. Okay, so cut through all that to what she had found out is that somebody took aquarium tubing, relabeled it Try It On tubing, and basically what you do is you take the aquarium, I just bought aquarium tubing off Amazon, but you take the aquarium tubing and you stick it, the goal is to avoid having to take your project and put it on waste yarn and take it off the needles, and that way you can try it on. And the reason for that is often when you're knitting, the part around here is not big enough. When it's on the cable, it's not big enough to completely stretch out so that you can put it on. You have to take it off the needle so it can loosen up and be the size it's going to be. So anyway, you take the aquarium tubing. Maybe everybody knows this, but I thought this was so cool. And you take the ends of the aquarium tubing and you pop it onto the needles, and then the stitches can slide onto that, and you can try it on. It loosens it all up. Now, one thing I did find...
That seems like a really... What if the tubing's not the right size? You just buy it for the needle?
No.
Okay.
I mean, you couldn't do it for, like, socks.
Right.
I mean, you'd have...
You'd have to be like a... Yeah. Okay.
But, I mean, I think...
As long as it's at
least
the stitches
diameter.
go over easily?
Oh,
that
yeah.
seems so weird.
Well, it's... I mean... these are not small stitches. I mean, these are
Right.
size 8 needles.
Right.
So,
Okay. So you just put it on. Okay.
I mean, those would go on it. See, it's just a little bit bigger than your needle.
Yeah, that fills me full of anxiety.
Oh well. So anyway, you stick the aquarium tubing onto the end of the needles. Now, one thing I did find was that I have the ChowGoo red lace. Is it red lace twist? The metal ChowGoo interchangeable set, and put the aquarium tubing on, and it like forms a seal, and you cannot get the aquarium tubing off.
It's like those little finger trap things.
Yes, yes. So first thing I did was I poked a hole with a T-pin. I poked a hole into the tube to like let air in. Well, that didn't do anything. So I actually had to cut the aquarium tubing at the tip of the needle, and then use a razor blade to slice the plastic off of the metal needles.
Where was I when this happened?
I don't know.
Must have been off doing something important.
I mean, I'll have to do that every time, but the thing is I have 8 feet of aquarium tubing, so if I have to cut off half an inch every time I do that, it's totally worth having to take your whole project off the needles and then put it back on, because I don't care how careful you are, I always end up twisting a stitch or dropping a stitch or whatever when I'm transferring hundreds of stitches,
right,
or 100 stitches or whatever it is off. What were you gonna say? You look like you're about to say something.
Nothing else. I didn't see you do that, so I'm still a little mystified. But maybe I can do that for this one. Maybe you can show me how to do it for this one when I've got a little more length on this.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a knitting. Not a knitting break, but a break from showing works in progress and stuff, and talk about people that have commented and things like that on some of the episodes. Excuse me. First and foremost, I want to thank Jessica from the Knit Up and Dye podcast. She's Dye Monkey Yarns, is her, I think, her Etsy shop, but I'll put it all in the show notes. But she mentioned us on her podcast, and it was like the sweetest thing ever. And it just, like I've said before, the reason I do this podcast, or the reason we decided to do this, was because of the community of knitting and just meeting people. And David Dogdare, from the Dogdare podcast, I'm never sure if it's, when people have their podcast names, it's like, is it Dogdare Knits or, and so I apologize that I don't know it right off the top. I know it's Dogdare and David Dogdare, but he's reached out to me, and many people have, really, other podcasters is the point I'm making, have reached out and really made us feel welcome. Michelle from Naughty Knitwits is another one. So, but Jessica actually mentioned us in her podcast as a podcast that people need to watch,
which is really lovely.
Yeah, it was funny because I was sitting knitting, and I always knit and watch my podcasts, and John doesn't watch the podcast because John hates knitting, and
I don't hate knitting, I just don't love it as much as you do.
And so I'm sitting there knitting, and so I don't remember what she said, but she started talking about, what was it? She started talking about you. Remember, because I told you to come watch it. I can't remember. We're back. Okay.
Yay.
So my cell phone died, and I threw it on the floor, and a bunch of other fun stuff happened. So, all right. So we were talking about Jessica, and Jessica, I think, I was going to say something about your name, but I don't know. Your name is on YouTube, but I love your name. I love your last name. I'll just leave it at that. If that's your last name. So anyway, a couple other things I wanted to mention is there was somebody asked, Hot Pink Socks
Ooh.
Asked, John, where in Kentucky are you from? I lived in Kentucky for 6 years.
I grew up in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about an hour and a half north of Nashville, Tennessee, across the state line.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's where I lived.
Sorry, I was trying to find. There was another question that I will find eventually later. So, let's move on. Do you have other works in progress?
You know,
want to
I
show?
have the double knit thing, but I've gotten like 2 extra lines on it, so I don't know if it's worth showing.
That's okay. I got plenty for the both of us.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That way I can just work on my crafts.
Okay. So I'm going to show my shawl that I'm working on, which is in my fox bag that I showed last time, which is from Mr. Indigo Bags. I just freaking love this bag. And it came as a kit, and I know I've already shown this, but I'm obsessed with it, so I'm going to show it again. It came with a skein of yarn as a kit. My mom bought it for me for my birthday. In the back, so you can see that little pop of blue there in this really awesome skein of yarn, and it matches the blue on the inside of the bag. It's totally awesome. And the yarn is Dragon Horde. Is that what it was?
Sure.
Anyway, I'll put it in the show notes. But so okay, every time I go to show this shawl, I'm in the middle of a row. And so it's not as easy to show. Okay. I wish I would just learn not to do that.
Yeah.
So, but this is going to be interesting. I want to talk to people about this. So, this is the Buy It shawl.
So, I didn't realize until I looked at the pattern, it's after A.S. Byatt, who wrote, like, Possession and all these, like, basically, it's high-end English major literary pornography.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just funny because...
I thought I told you that.
Yeah, no, but it completely fits the scarf, the shawl in its pattern. It's really, really...
Because I've not read...
Like, of course it's named by it, because it's like, yeah, whoever named that pattern knows their stuff.
Well, I'll find the pattern and you can read the little intro about...
Yeah, but it's like, it's beautiful, it's lacy, it's intricate, it has kind of like, you know, this little fun... Yeah, I was very impressed with it. Like, oh, yeah, I like A.S. Byatt.
Yeah.
So...
I think I talked about it when Sonia was here, so you were probably distracted, because Sonia and I were probably distracting you. So, I'm going to actually... No, I don't have time to do that.
Do you want me to help you hold it, babe?
No, it's not that. It's that...
Can you put it on tips or something?
Well, let me see here. I mean, I can take the stitches off and... Okay, I'll transfer the stitches here onto the other needle so that I can hold it up while I'm talking.
Do you have a marker so you know where you left it?
Well, the colors are different. So,
okay.
the yarn is different. So, couple things I want to talk about with the shawl. So, it's coming along great. I had some issues because it really wasn't an issue, but it was just a lack of confidence because the way that the shawl pattern is written is that there's a chart. There's a few charts, and so the chart. First of all, I had to learn a 1/1. What?
So, when you know, like magic eyes?
Yeah. So,
when I focus on my knitting and sort of look away, the pattern of this thing goes kind of magic eye on you.
The tablecloth.
So, I'm going to start seeing, like, spaceships and dogs. It's a very, like,
seagulls.
It gets almost like a little bit of vertigo. So, next time we do this, we need to do a plain tablecloth. Because I'm going crazy.
So, let me just hold it up. So, I'm just absolutely loving the color of it. And so, this is, plus I'm obsessed with this yarn. So this is yarn that we bought in Uruguay, and it's Monostel Uruguay. It's their Silk Blend is the name of the base, and then I think Autumn is the name of the colorway. But it's just, you can see the way the drape is, and it's got a lot of silk, maybe not a lot of silk, but I know it's got silk in it, and it's just, I just want to knit with it constantly. But the other thing I wanted to point out is that, the other thing is I've started working in the second color. Okay, this candle is going to burn everything. So I've started working in the second color, which is the Malabrigo, is it liquid gold? And I just love the way this is turning out. But I have a few questions for folks. So, one is, it seems small to me. So, now granted, I've got a whole grid section to do, and then beyond the grid, and you're continuing to increase, and then beyond the grid section is a lace section. But my concern is that the pattern is, it's like 84 inches on the longest side. And I don't see how we're going to get to 84 inches.
84 inches?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's 6 foot long scarf.
Yeah. 7 foot, yeah.
It's for big people. Like,
no, a lot of scarves
like
are huge
Hagrid.
like that. No, a lot of, they're not all shawls are meant to be worn around your shoulders. I mean, there are a lot of big shawls.
It's like it's like a drapey fold over a couple times type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. For Hagrid. Or no,
Madame Delacroix.
I can't remember the giant lady from France.
Although isn't giant, you're not supposed to say giantess. Anyway, it was like racist or something in Harry Potter to say giant, but because the giants didn't exist anymore or something. It's been too long since I've read those books. The question I have is, so I really struggled to meet gauge with this, and I went up a couple needle sizes to get there. I'm assuming, based on what I've heard other people say on podcasts, that it will block, and I can stretch it when I block it so that it grows in size. I mean, I think Betty Ann was saying, like, it doesn't have to be, it can be whatever size you want it to be or whatever. It's a shawl. It's not like a garment. It's not like a sweater or something that has to fit a certain size, but it just bothers me when it's not...
It doesn't feel like it's going to hit the right size?
Well, not the size that the pattern is. And I don't know, it makes me... Excuse me, because of the fact that I'm trying to do it correctly to the pattern, I don't know if I've made a mistake. I've got the right number of stitches. The yarn is close to the right size, although the yarn is thicker. I don't know what the right term is, but I think it calls for fingering weight yarn, and this is almost a sport weight yarn. So, but I went up, I met gauge, I guess is my point, when I did my swatching, and I don't know, it just, the other thing is, with this having silk in it, it's mostly wool. I'm hoping that you can block it and it'll stretch the same way that like 100% wool would. And I'm looking at you like, So anyway, I'm not that worried about it because it's going to be beautiful no matter what, but I would love to hear what people have to say about that, because it's just, I'm not understanding why it's turning out that way. But. Okay, we're back again for the third time. So I thought that I had plugged in my phone that was dying, and I had plugged it into a outlet in our basement that's
doesn't work.
So okay, we're having the Hobbit effect again.
Oh,
you look tiny.
Oh, but it's so much easier to knit like that.
But I don't want to look tiny. I don't want to look huge. I'm not a giantess. I don't know. So I don't know where it cut off. But
it went blank all of a sudden. So you were talking about. You just done the whole question about. You asked about the size.
I want people to know. I want to ask Pete, or I want people to tell me. Is it weird that I met gauge, but my shawl appears that it's going to be smaller than it says the finished size is going to be, even though I have the right number of stitches, and considering that it has silk in it,
is it going to block out?
Is it going to block out? And actually, let me look up real quick what the Manos del Uruguay silk blend, what the different what it's made out of, so I can. Okay, so it's 70% extra fine merino, 30% silk.
Ooh.
So it's the most wonderful yarn ever to knit with. But anyway, just curious what people think. I'm going to keep going, and it's going to be great. And I just discovered, So this grid pattern that I've just started is you do 6 knit stitches and then you do a 1/1 right twist and a 1/1 left twist, and it creates this cool V, and that's how you do your grid and stuff like that. And I have one section where I did 7 stitches and another section where I did 5 stitches, and so normally I would say whatever, but it's a grid.
Did you unknit?
So I'm gonna have to.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna knit them together.
Oh, that is what I decided to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's not a big deal. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
So that's that. One thing I started, I think at the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned that I had gone to Pittsburgh for work, and John came with me, or John met me there for the weekend. We'd never been to Pittsburgh, and I have to say it was absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Went to a yarn store.
Went to a yarn store. We actually went to a maker space, and it had a little store in the first floor.
Steel City Knits.
Thank you, Steel City Knits. I would never have remembered that. And they had a lot of. They only had local artisan stuff, and they had 2 floors in this house of
Knitting
machines
and
dyeing
super
areas
cool. And dyeing
carding machines and spinning wheels and all kinds of cool stuff that people come in and make stuff. And so I didn't really need any more yarn. And so what I ended up buying there was these, let me see if I can get a little closer.
Yeah, the problem with the table is it's a little far for the camera.
So I ended up buying these little stitch markers. Okay, it's going to be hard to focus.
Yeah.
Because let me get it in front of my face. So there you go. So it's these cute little citrusy stitch marker, progress keeper things. A lemon and a lime. I think there were 3 lemons and a lime in there. So that's really cool. And so next work in progress. I'm not going to show my baby blanket because I haven't done anything on it. But those of you who follow me on Instagram know that I was looking for John's sock. Like I was asking what I should do for the colors of his heels and toes, and I have a hoe, which is a half-finished object. So I think it's so ugly that it's cute.
Oh, I love it.
So this is a few things that I've learned with making. So this is my 4th pair of socks. A few things I learned. One is that, and is that the Grocery Girls? Must have been the Grocery Girls. We're talking about, with socks, you need to have negative ease. And I didn't really realize that, or I didn't think about it that way when I first started socks. So what that means is you shouldn't knit a sock so that when you pull it on, it's effortless to pull it on and it doesn't stretch out at all. You should have to stretch the sock to get it on, because that's how it stays up and doesn't get baggy.
Or you can have garters.
Or you can have garters. So what I did is I reduced the number of stitches for this sock for John by 8 stitches. And I also put in, you can see I put in a 6x2 rib to give it some, I don't know, whatever it's called, grip. I did a 2x2 rib at the top, and then I did a 6x2 rib at the bottom, and then I kept going, and I didn't need to. This is a top down with I think it's called a wedge toe and a afterthought heel. But what I'm going to do with the next sock is I'm going to come down to here and stop, and do the rest of the foot in just straight stockinette. And the reason why that matters is trying to put in an afterthought heel when you've got a rib. How the hell do you pick up the purl stitches? I'm sure somebody's figured it out, but I Googled and looked on Ravelry. I had no idea. So I did the best that I could. And then I ended up with some weirdness, some stitch weirdness. and I just kind of captured those stitches and held them with knots. Don't tell anybody.
Oh my god, my socks are
inside
ruined.
the socks, but I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But
Those are gonna hurt my feet.
they are. They're totally going to ruin your feet. But so the body of the sock is Yavel yarn, and I've talked about I've got the yarn in the show notes. Then we went to the yarnery in St. Paul yesterday, and I was going to go to Stephen B, but it was closed by the time we decided to get our asses in gear. So I picked, it's a you can't really tell, let me see if I can hold it up close. It's a turquoise, but what's cool about it is it's a turquoise with yellow, nah, you can't really see it here. I can put it in front of your
Sort
face.
of see it.
It's a turquoise with yellow tweed spot. Turquoise with, with yellow tweed spots in it. I just thought that was so cool. So it's turquoise heel and toe. And yeah, so I think it turned, and John tried it on and it fits so much better than the first pair of socks I knit in. So this is going to be John's recipe, I think. And, you know, I knit it. It's so funny when I hear people talk about knitting on 9-inch circulars, because I can't imagine, well, I can imagine, I don't know why anyone would knit on anything but 9-inch circulars, because it's so much quicker. I'm trying to find my 9-inch circulars. Where the heck did they go? Here they are. So, yeah, so I'm doing it on these 9-inch circulars, and some people are like, how the hell do you knit on something so tiny? But I don't know. I think part of it is these are the Chowgoos. They're 9 inches, and they have longer tips than I think the Addy sock rockets do. Because I think it was the Grocery Girls, or one of their early episodes. I was going back and watching the old episodes from the beginning, and they were using Addy sock rocket, and I think they were 8-inch, and I think that the tips were smaller or shorter, meaning the metal part, not where the cable is. And so I don't know. I can't imagine knitting with anything. And plus, Betty Ann taught me on these exact needles, so that probably has something to do with it. But the turquoise, so here's the turquoise heels and toes yarn. I want to see if you can get, oh yeah, there you can see the yellow spots a little bit better, the yellow tweed spots. But it's super fun. It's Kenzie. This is from New Zealand with Love by Haiku. Hikoo. And then it's a little bit bigger than the other yarn is, but it's 150 yards and 50 grams, and it's 50% New Zealand. Okay, I'm like about to pass out from leaning over. 50% New Zealand merino, 25% nylon, 10% Algora, 10% alpaca, and 5% silk.
What's Algora?
Did I say Algora?
Yeah.
I meant Angora.
Like it's yarn made of Al Gore.
Yeah, Al Gore. So it's got all kinds of crazy stuff in there, but it's fun. It's fun to knit with. It's thicker than the Yavel yarn that the body's made out of. So it made a really, I don't know if dense is the right word, but it's like tightly packed. Not very good stitch definition for the toes and the heels, but that's okay. I don't care. I just wanted something, and I'm thinking with the 25% nylon and the silk in there, I think with both of those it'll be really strong for heels and toes. But I think what I'm going to do after I finish these socks is I'm going to have some of this left over, and the store, the yarnery that we bought it in St. Paul, Minnesota, has a lot of different colors of this yarn, and it's really inexpensive. I mean, I don't remember, was it like $7 or something?
Yeah,
for $7 for 50 grams or something. And I'm going to try, I've never made Shorty socks, and so I'm going to try Shorty socks. And the pattern, I found a pattern online. If anybody has any recommendations for patterns, just let me know on Ravelry or in the comments here or whatever. But I did a search for Shorty socks on Ravelry and sorted by most popular, and there was, I don't remember which pattern it is now, but there was a pattern that I put in my queue. It's a free pattern for Shorty socks, and I'm going to try that. And what's interesting about that is it's done with DPNs, and it's got a heel flap and stuff like that, and I've not done any of that. I've always done afterthought heels, so I'm up for trying something new. So the fact that I can tell that it's got Angora because the yarn looks, you're never going to be able to tell it on the camera, but it looks kind of hairy, like it's got like a halo on it for sure, and I think that's because of the Angora. But anyway, it's really, really fun. So I'm glad that's done, and then I'll just go ahead and get the second one done soon. And I think that's all that I learned with the sock. So I think that's all I have for works in progress and my half object. I don't have any other finished objects. I think that the only other thing I was going to talk about, well, one of the other things I was going to talk about is John and I are signed up for our first knitting retreat.
Terrifying.
Which is very exciting. This is, let's make this the Betty Ann update.
Okay.
So, first Betty Ann update.
She finished a sock.
She finished a sock.
Very exciting.
It's very exciting. Okay. So, was Junior feeling jealous that Linus got to be in the podcast earlier?
He was. You could tell. He was very upset. And now he's getting like super screen time.
Were you upset?
He's looking right to the
Is
camera.
he gonna knit? He is looking. I think he sees them. I don't know if cats can. Sometimes I don't. They say like cats can't see TVs or they can see TVs.
No, he's finding his light.
Oh, that's right.
He's finding.
He's smizing.
He's getting his angles correct. Okay. Sorry.
So. I forgot what we were talking about.
She finished a sock.
Oh, Betty Ann update. Right. She finished a sock. I'm going to put a picture in. I don't know if I've got approval, but I don't care. So she's the one who got me knitting. She's the one who got, well, that's not technically true. You did. She's the one that got me, like, addicted to the podcasts and the, fancy yarn and all that. She's the one that taught me to knit socks. And the woman hasn't, I've done 4 pair, well, I've done 3.5 pair now, and she's done 0 pairs. I think she's probably finished her first pair, and it was because she was terrified of putting the heels and toes in. But I told her just do it, and I don't care how janky it is.
It's the toe. No one sees it.
Well, no. So I'm going to have to lean back so that I don't look like a giantess.
I'm sorry. It's Junior's making me do it.
So I keep losing my train of thought. I think I need to go to bed. She finished her sock. It looks great. The yarn, it has a sparkle base in it. I don't remember where she got it from. I think it was her first yarn that she ever bought on Etsy that she didn't buy in a Michaels or whatever. And so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sock. The yarn's cool. So I told her just keep going, barrel through it, get it done, and no matter how janky it is, you've learned all the steps. You've learned the process. And then, I mean, it's what, my 4th pair of socks now, and I'm finally figuring out the whole negative ease thing. So, where's he going?
He's fine.
Oh God, he's gonna.
No, Junior.
He loves the camera. Come here, buddy.
He's just getting nice. He's fine. He's fine.
Okay, there we go. So that's the first Betty Ann update. The second Betty Ann update is that she's an enabler. She's now enabling more than just her family. She's also a bully. So John, okay, this is all tied to the retreat. So John and I have signed up for, or we didn't sign up, Betty Ann signed us up for, but we approved it and we wanted to do it. It was actually something, she mentioned it to me and I was like, let's do that. So we're going on a knitting retreat, and so my mom is we're from Southwest Georgia, and there's a town in South Central Southwest Georgia called Thomasville, and in Thomasville they have a yarn store called the Fuzzy Goat, and the Fuzzy Goat is hosting their first yarn retreat, and it's at this amazing bed and breakfast called the Paxton 1885, and I'm sure I'll put pictures in. But the Paxton 1885 is this beautiful, beautiful place, and it's a long weekend retreat, and so a knitting retreat. And so there's a trunk show and a porch party, and it's going to be so much fun. So John and I are going. Betty Ann's going. My Aunt Helen is going.
Does your Aunt Helen knit?
She doesn't, but
Okay.
my mom and I keep trying to convince her that she needs to. She just likes to go on trips. So Betty Ann. So then there's another podcaster out there who she and I both love to watch, and so this podcaster lives in Georgia, and I'm not saying the name because I didn't get his permission to talk about it. I'm sure people will probably figure it out who it is, but my mom and I love to watch him, and Betty Ann is like, you need to go on this retreat with us. He lives like 4 hours from Thomasville or something like that, and so I think he's going, and I'm like going to be totally starstruck because I've not met any other podcasters in person yet, and so I think that's super exciting, but you know, him being a male knitter and stuff like that, and in that part of the world, you know, it's not quite as open-minded about male knitters and stuff like that necessarily, but yeah, so
March.
I can't believe that Betty Ann's like, you need to do this, and so, and I know he's an adult, he made his own decisions, but as John's, what was it you said about her?
She gets an idea.
She gets an idea, and then it's downhill.
She's like a dog with a bone.
She's like a dog with a bone. So, that I am super excited. That's in September, and so we had wanted to go to, or I had wanted to go to, I think it's called Knit City, which is in Vancouver, Canada, I think, in the fall. But I'm not sure I could get Betty Ann on a plane from Atlanta to Vancouver, Canada. I think that she might die. So if I'm going to go to a retreat, I'm going to want to go with her, especially for my first one. So the fact that this is kind of her local yarn store, even though it's like I think an hour away or something from where she lives. But I don't think there is a yarn store in Albany or Leesburg where she lives. So Thomasville, I think, is the closest one. So yeah. So I think we'll probably wrap it up. There's some, I think in the next episode, maybe we'll have a segment for discussion about comments and stuff that people like, kind of questions and answers and stuff like that, because I found some that I want to talk about, and then the laptop battery died.
We've had super technical issues. This has been just, maybe this is just a bad space of bad juju, because we've had to start and stop this thing like 6 times.
I know.
But it's okay.
Yes.
We're learning.
And I didn't have an outline today, but it's all good. So anyway, super excited that people are watching more than just our family. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.